Good morning. Let's hear you. Good morning. Yeah, thank you. So we are going to start with an awesome song this morning led by our buddy Jamie Ballou here. Hi. So we'll put lyrics up and you're welcome to sing along if you know it. But guys, I have no complaints whatsoever today. Isn't that amazing? Do you have complaints today? No. No complaints whatsoever. All right? Let's do it.
I got no complaints whatsoever. I got no complaints whatsoever. I got no complaints whatsoever. And a new day is dawning in my soul. I've got no complaints whatsoever. I got no complaints whatsoever. I got no complaints whatsoever. And a new day is dawning in my soul. And a new day is dawning in my soul. Believe it or not, I ain't lying. And I'm not trying to cover up the facts. I've been down, I've been betrayed, I've been broken open till I gave up the struggle at last. I can see all the ways I've been gifted and the wisdom that's brought me to this place. Through the twists and turns, I've finally come to learn to trust this amazing kind of grace. I got no complaints whatsoever. I got no complaints whatsoever. I got no complaints whatsoever. And a new day is dawning in my soul. And a new day is dawning in my soul. Well, the high road's surprisingly easy. Forgiveness shows up without a fight. Through the ups and downs, I see beauty all around. That I'd rather be grateful than right. I get to play with what I'm given and find such unexpected harmonies. Weaving the light with a deep, dark shadow till the music sets me free. I got no complaints whatsoever. I got no complaints whatsoever. I got no complaints whatsoever. A new day is dawning in my soul. It's a new day is dawning in my soul. I've got no regrets. I got no regrets. I'm seriously blessed. I'm seriously blessed. With peace of mind. With such peace of mind. All the time. Got no complaints whatsoever. I've got no complaints whatsoever. I got no complaints whatsoever. And a new day is dawning in my soul. And a new day is dawning in my soul. No regrets. I'm seriously blessed, and a new day is dawning in my soul. Good job, girls.
All right, why don't we stand up a second so we can turn to each other and say good morning, give your name, you know. This is Unity of Boulder. This is the unity community. Right. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. This is a strange configuration. There's like an empty spot right down here in the middle. We've got those people crowded up in the back. Could you guys in the back just move down? Come on down. Come on, give us your hand. Look, they're shaking their head no. You would never do that. You would never do that in a fundamental Christian church. You just feel so free here in Unity. Okay, listen, while you're seated, why don't you turn the volume off of your cell phones? You know, you can still keep your cell phone on if you want to photograph some of what's going on here or some of the PowerPoints, which are really interesting and important. That's great. Or you want to, you know, text somebody and let them know where you are right now. Go ahead and do that, but we just don't need any extra sound going off while we're doing this great service. I want to welcome our Spanish-speaking friends that are joining us for this service. It's always nice to have that good energy coming in. And all of those that are following us on live stream, okay, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it, having your energy here. You're part of the transformation that's taking place on our planet right now. There's a tremendous transformation about to unleash itself on this planet right now. So we're a part of that. Okay. Is there anybody here from another unity? Nobody here from another unity. What about another Methodist church? No? No fundamental Christians here trying their wings? Okay. Is there anybody here for the first time? All right, you have your hands up. Leave your hands up. We have a gift for you. Fabulous gift for you. All right, come on down. Leave your hands up. They're coming down and give them to you. All right. Okay, great. The keys to a new Lexus. All right. And as you come back next Sunday, we'll give you the car. All right, great. Hey, there's just something that you need to know. What's the difference between Baptists and Unity members? Baptists don't wave to each other in the marijuana store.
We invite you to sing this song with us. I'm sure you will recognize it. And let's go.
All these pieces broken and scattered, in mercy gathered
Beautiful. Thank you.
Let us take a moment for prayer. I encourage you to relax in your seat. Take some deep breaths and relax into this moment. Today, let us celebrate and connect with the love of Spirit. Father, Mother God, we are so grateful for your majestic love that appears to us in the stars, in the cosmos. We are surely blessed with the order and harmony of the planets, with the flow of the seasons, with the beauty and the tranquility of a sunrise. Father, Mother God, we are blessed with your enfolding love that shows up in all the spirits around us. Everyone in this room, everyone in this community, all the plants and animals around us, each of us is a child of light. Let us take a moment now and just breathe into that enfolding love that surrounds us in this very room. Open up and breathe into that enfolding love all around us. Father, Mother, God, Spirit, we are also very grateful and blessed for your intimate love that is within our very own hearts, in the core of our being. In the core of our being, there is peace, love, unconditional love, a light that can guide us, the energy and the strength we need in this world. Breathe into that core, into your core. Feel that light within you shining out. Father, Mother, God, Spirit, we are also grateful today for all your way-showers, all your teachers on this planet, for their strength and their courage, their dedication, their authenticity. And especially in this moment, let us be grateful for an angel in our midst. Today, let us be grateful for our minister, Syntysche, who is serving us today on her birthday. So I ask us now to take all that majestic love of the cosmos, the enfolding love of our community, and the heart, the love in your heart. Let's reflect back and give a gift to our Syntysche today and just see her blessed, infused with that love. Thank you, Syntysche. Our world, our universe is brighter for your light. Thank you, God, for this and all your infinite blessings. And to this we say, Amen.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, you know what? I had a different mic on. I gotta put this one on. Sorry. Out of sorts here. Good to see you all here today. I've been working on the sermon for a few weeks. I actually took last Sunday off to prepare it for my birthday sermon, and I really wanted to just kind of, I feel like this is like a half of a lifetime birthday that I'm at right now, and talk about, inner reflection towards my life, looking back on all of this stuff I've learned in this lifetime. It feels like 100 lifetimes. I feel like I've lived 10 at this point, in that early reflections of all of it, and it's brought up so much joy, so much beauty, so many wonderful things that have happened in my life that were transformational, and I just really kind of want to go through the life a little bit to share with you the fundamentals that really created my awakening to, really being a conduit of God's work and wanting to be up here and share this life, I was raised by ministers, and so I grew up in the church, and I always say, if going to church every Sunday gets you to heaven, I am definitely going to heaven. I haven't missed church, and look I didn't miss it for my birthday either, so look at this, I'm really getting brownie points today. But I'm going to be palling with Edgar Casey in this sermon because I would say that he's probably one of the strongest guides for my life and how I was raised. Edgar Casey is one of the most documented psychics who could go into a sleep state and come up with healing remedies for people in whatever particular situation that they're dealing with, and they didn't even have to sit in the presence of them. He could actually keep time with them in a completely different state and actually tune into their body and then let the person know what it was that they needed to actually heal them, not just physically, but spiritually, what was disconnecting them or what was coming up from their Akashic records or their past lives, and they needed to look upon and why they were reliving some sort of painful thing that was kind of carrying from another lifetime or something like that. So Edgar Casey, my middle name is after Edgar Casey. My middle name is Casey, and I felt deeply connected with his work all along. And I think the part that really connects me to him is that he was deeply Christian. He was a Sunday school teacher. He taught, in a Methodist church every single Sunday, and yet being a psychic in his era was really very esoteric and really not accepted, and yet he had this gift. He was given this gift that he could not ignore, and I kind of want to talk about that this sermon, is when we are shown our gifts, we have to believe it, instead of us fighting that there might be something so amazing about us, that this is what we were actually put here to do and be. And so when he realized, going into a sleep state, that he could come up with remedies he healed his son who had accidentally hurt his eyes in an explosion. He started doing a reading where his wife heard him in the middle of the night, and she wrote down all the things he said that they needed to do to help their son. And they put a poultice on this boy's eyes for 30 days. And after 30 days, he could see, which all the doctors said that he would not ever see again. That was kind of the beginning of his work, but it was early on that he realized that he had a special gift where he could see the many lifetimes in people's lives, not in a wake state, but in this altered, almost that, sleep state. They talk about that sleep state right before you go to bed. And right before you're about to wake up, you're in a state that's the veil between this human experience and the spiritual experience is thinner. We have more access to information. We've got more access to divine guidance. I don't know if any of you have had this experience, but I have spells where I'm woken up at 3 in the morning, 3:10 in the morning. That's a time, if you're being woken up at that time, you're supposed to be getting up out of bed and sitting with Spirit. There's an actual attention-grabbing moment in that Spirit's saying, you don't need to be sleeping through this, you need to get up right now and get a message. There's a download to be had about your life at this time. And so I love this esoteric work. This has always been what really gets me going with Spirit. I love the fact that we can look at our dreams and believe that there is truth to what we are seeing when we learn how to interpret them. I love the idea that there's this divine experience happening in everything that we experience. So no matter what happens, whatever animal crosses your path or message comes from a small child, that you take it seriously, that there's something in it that is there to be reflecting something that our spirit is being called to. So I wanted to read a little something that Edgar Cayce wrote. And he wrote this: "Why do we have so many religious sects if the principle of oneness is an undergirding force in the universe? In part, the answer lies in our own diversity and in the fact that we are all drawn to what we need at a given time for our own personal growth and development. In addition, we also possess the very human trait of wanting to pin down our truth, putting parameters around our understanding so that we can deal with it." And I think that's a really important point. You know, many of us were born into families and were probably guided onto some sort of religious path or spiritual path. And eventually we have to find if this is the correct path for us. But what this is saying is that whatever path has brought you to where you are is where you were supposed to come from and where you're supposed to be. It's not about separation. It's about the fact that this is what your soul needed to get you into divine alignment with your outpicturing of how you're going to create in this world. And so there's so much duality in whose God or whose practice is better. And the truth is whatever one is putting you in alignment with being a greater soul, a greater, advocate of spirit, being more of a conduit for listening and recognizing that you are the hands, the ears, the eyes, the beingness of God. So every religion will take you to that point. But the most important, at the core of all religions, is treat your neighbor as yourself. We have to look and take care of one another. That is one of the greatest things that we can ever really conceive and do. Not just think it, but be it and do it. We see someone that's in trouble, we go and we help. We stop our life. We don't look at the pattern or what our busy schedule is about. It's about being here to be God's hands and actions in this world, not only for people, but for animals, for all of life. Every bit of creation is made from God. So my interpretation of what he was saying here is that whatever spiritual path or religious practice we take to discover our oneness with all life, one another, and with God, is like a roadmap, showing us which direction to go, best fit for our own soul's journey, for meeting the entirety of this vast and powerful relationship. So I have discovered in my life that it's not just the good things in life that get you in your divine alignment. It's also the hard things. The yin and the yang, there's a balance to everything. And today's October 6th, and I'm a Libra, which is the scales. So the truth is it's finding balance in everything. How do you find balance in life? Which I think that it's pretty difficult in this day and age to find balance, especially as a full-time working person with children, I work with my family. I have all sorts of dynamics to keep me really, really busy. And the cell phones and the iPads and the emails and the 4 different emails and the passwords to get into every bank code. I mean, it just could go on where you can just never get a sense of, right? And you can find yourself very overwhelmed, which I have found myself very overwhelmed recently. And so I really wanted to go back to the basics of what I was raised with, because that's not how I was raised. I was raised where you work to play. That was the affirmation of my life. It could make me cry because I'm overwhelmed right now in my life. And I think that's what I wrote this sermon. So just bear with me. I've had a flu for a few days and I'm just coming out of it. So I'm very vulnerable right now sharing this truth. But I know that I can find balance in the midst of all this, but I have to take the time to find the balance. I have lost balance a little bit. And I can always hear my dad saying, we work to play. You never work to work. Because that's an addiction too. When we over-obsess doing something that's outside of ourselves to keep ourselves from ourselves, right? That was a really strong direction that I was given as a child. And I think one of the most important forces in my life for awakening just in the beginning of my life was having siblings. How many of you out there have siblings in your life that grew up with people in your household? I think that's one of the greatest blessings that you can possibly have, because immediately out the gate, it's not about you. Right? So you learn very soon that you're part of the collective whole. Sometimes it's your day, and sometimes it's not your day. But you're not self-seeking. You learn when it is your time. We have our measures of days where it's all about you, and then there's days it's all about Shad, and there's days it's all about Del, right? And that is an important part of balance. Then you go on to having children, and you become selfless. Life is about being a little bit less about self and more about how much more can I give to the ones that I love, to the ones that are around me. How can I collectively, energetically meet people in a very fair and kind way? Sometimes it's not about me. I'm here to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because he who sent me will direct me. Recognizing that this collective energy that we are together is what this spiritual path is about. This singular awakening attainment is BS. Because if you're not walking and holding arms with each other and growing each other together, and you're in a singular world watching YouTubes of spirituality and sitting in your own world trying to find God, where God is right here. In your awareness of one another, in your empathy and your compassion. As you are getting bigger, you're bringing people along with you. There's never attaining something. It's the isness and the vastness of grabbing onto one another. Being there to help a mother that's overwhelmed. Being there to help your elderly parents no matter what you have to do because they gave you everything. That we don't complain about what life creates, but all these levels, all these cyclical levels. Everybody's going to be a mother. Everybody's going to be a grandmother. Everybody's going to have grandchildren. We're going to have all these different levels, so you take care of all the levels. And then when it's your turn to be the grandmother, then your children care about you. Because that's what balance is. Balance is about being authentic and present in life. So, Shad and Del and I grew up, we were homeschooled in our early years till middle school-ish, and my mom would start our day meditating. We had a meditation room in our house, and there was one little vent with blowing heat out of it in that room, and my dad never had the house warm enough. He had a little bit of poverty consciousness from his New Jersey days. So we'd fight for the little heat thing to be sitting on it during the meditation time. And it's a fond memory, but I remember being cold in that room meditating, and we did a lot of our spiritual growth in our early years together, and we could complain behind our parents' back, but one thing we did have was each other's backs, and spiritually, we've always been the people that we call each other when we're in the crisis of life. I always know my brothers will pick up that phone when I really need them to, which they always have picked it up anyways, but there's nothing like the person that traveled your whole childhood with you and understand these crazy people that raised you, right? Sometimes you don't want to talk to these crazy people, you got to talk to the brothers that understand it. Now, they're the best. So, Native American pathway was also huge. So Edgar Cayce was deeply my dad, and the Native way was my mom's. So our whole school day was very Native. It was in nature, it was walking without shoes, planting our feet on the planet, and every little bug, every little living creature, every little thing that we were in the presence of, it was not talking, it was witnessing. And recognizing all that God has created and the beauty of it, and that we do not hurt anything. That we are absolutely the keepers of the earth. And we felt that heartbeat from our childhood. It was so innately given to us by the way that they outpictured their parenting with us. We spent a month in the summer on a vacation, and my dad would always say, we'd say, "Where are we going, Dad?" And he'd say, "Wherever the car takes us." And it was magical to never know. They let it be magical. Where are we going to go? We don't know, wherever the car is going to take us. And it was always to the native lands, Arizona, Utah, Four Corners area. And we'd have the most profound experiences where we'd run into Native Americans, at a Denny's or something like that, and they'd invite us to a very privatized powwow that was only for the natives, and our family would get to witness things like the corn dance, where huge Kachina doll creatures are appearing out of the ground out of nowhere during ceremony, and fire and drumming and crazy, and these things are like 8 feet tall and walking around, and it's just, as little kids, it was just like your eyes were like this massive. We were shown God in a way, through the truth, through the ancestors of this planet, that it's real. It's not something you talk about. It's something you can't even teach about. It's limited for words. But the fact that there's magic in this life, in everything, and to watch the indigenous show that to their children, and we're just little white people inside, blown away. I mean, not really. My mom's native. But we look pretty white. We still stood there with our blue eyes. And they'd take us on sweat lodges. My parents built a sweat lodge up above our house once and cooked us to death. And then there's this memory of a hike that we were on as a little kid. We were hiking out of Chaco Canyon, and I was hiking ahead with my older brother Dell, and my parents were back with Shad because he was being slower because he was younger. He's 3 years younger than me, and I was following Dell, but before I knew it, I couldn't see Dell, and then I turned around and I couldn't see my parents, or I lost my family in this canyon, and it was probably like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and I was probably about 8 years old, and I had a whistle. We had a whistle for safety, and I started blowing that thing with all of my life to find them, and there was no response. It was just echoing through these tall canyons as a little girl, and all I could hear them say was, "Just sit where you get lost, and we'll find you." And there was no way in hell I was going to sit in a canyon until it got dark. So my 8-year-old self was like, no, shows you how I followed the rules right out the gate. Whistle, whistle, whistle. And at the end of the Titanic where the girl's whistling in the water, that was like the most traumatizing. It brought back the whole feeling of being so alone in that canyon. And I was scared, and I was in adrenaline, and I was scared until I wasn't scared. And I remember this feeling of being walked with. I remember a sense of total peace walking out of this canyon. And all I could remember, I remember my mind going, where was our car? Like, where was our car? There was a flag post at the top of the trailhead or something like that. And so I finally get out of the canyon. I end up on a road, and there is no trailhead. There's nothing. I'm in the middle of nowhere. And a trucker comes around on this road, and there's this me standing there, and the guy pulls over and is like, "What are you doing? Like, it's dark out. I've lost my family." And he's like, "Where did you lose them?" And I was like, "In the canyon." I didn't know what the name of the canyon or anything that I was just coming out of. And I said, "But I know our car was parked where there was a flag post, like a trailhead." And he goes, "Oh, that's like a mile down the road." And he said, "Get in the car." And he took me to my parents. And I've never felt so loved as when I got out of that truck and my parents were standing there. Like, what an experience, to like have me missing like that. And I was a pretty difficult little kid, so I don't know that I got that response that often from my mom and dad, but I got it that day. They realized they loved me Oh, we do like her. We'd like to keep her. All right, so I've got this slide, and I like this. This is actually written by Edgar Casey. And essentially, the Edgar Casey readings present Jesus as our elder brother, a soul who came to show each one of us the way back to our spiritual source by perfectly manifesting the laws of the Creator. Part of his mission was to fully demonstrate the living awareness of the Spirit in the earth, something each one of us will eventually have to do. Therefore, Jesus' life of service to others serves as an example for all of humankind. I think that that's what spirituality is. At the very core of it is to be aware of the Spirit in the earth, something each one of us will eventually have to. So Jesus' life of service to others serves as an example for all of humankind. There is no distant day of attaining something someday that's going to make you happy. It's checking out your life in the very midst of you now. And where are you being called to being more loving, more compassionate, more alive, more awake, more aware? Another thing that I think is very, very important from my childhood was animals. Animals were sacred. Every time we'd pass buffaloes on our road trips, we'd stop and we would stare at them and we'd look at them, and the moose and the elk, and everywhere we watched animals and we'd silently just enjoy every second of what God's creatures had. But the one thing that we always had in our house was dogs. Dogs and cats, whatever you have in your home, are they not the most amazing sign of love? A dog is the only thing on earth that loves you more than he loves himself. Right? Where's my Gilly? Somebody has to bring my baby dog out here. When I look into the eyes of an animal, I do not see an animal. I see a living being. I see a friend. I feel a soul. So we've got the native, we've got Edgar Casey, and then the next piece was the creative. Dancing and singing and piano playing, all those lessons that my parents gave us. An outpicturing of the creative was the most incredible part of my childhood. Being taught how to dance, to perform dancing, being taught how to sing and to perform singing. I never feel closer to God than I do when I'm singing and I'm dancing. We all have something that innately is our thing, where we don't have words, but we can dance in and out of that which God is through us. Some people do it in public speaking, and I do, in public speaking, do feel Spirit move in and through me and change my sermons, and sometimes I'm like, oh, that's what this sermon's about. Thank you, God. Right? Oh, here he is. This is the love of my life. Here, don't let go of his leash, because he's a bad boy. Yeah. Okay, you got to disappear him because he's such a puppy. He says, there you go. Don't let go of him. So, doing the dancing and the singing my whole childhood and acting, it was for some day to go to New York and become famous on Broadway. And then I had a daughter young. And it was the best thing ever happened to me, but obviously dancing and singing was not in the cards anymore. And I remember going to Broadway shows with my mom and dad. And I'd sit there and I'd be dying in my early 20s watching the Broadway shows, and I'd be dancing through these dancers. It was like I was suffocating. I was literally dying watching them. I'd felt I had given up on my dreams. Until one day I woke up and I realized it wasn't that I didn't go after my dreams. It was that that's how I felt God. And so I still had to dance, and I still had to sing. It just might not be the way that I make my money. right? And that was a hard thing to come to terms with. I don't think I did till I was about 30. So looking back and reflecting right now for my birthday, that's why I'm sharing. This is a reflection of me looking back at all of it, because there's pain and there's happiness in all this stuff. But I'm going to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to run a little over. This is kind of a long sermon here. Are you guys okay with that? I want to share this video with you.
We did an experiment here at HeartMath to study how the information flows between the heart and the brain. And we actually discovered something quite remarkable, something that surprised us. The participants in the study were connected to various sensors to measure their brain waves, their heartbeats, and so on. And then they were exposed to various images. Some were high arousal, like a car crash or a snake striking, while others were low arousal images, like bunny rabbits in nature scenes. The participants were asked to push a button. They then saw a blank computer screen for 6 seconds. The computer then randomly selected one of these photographs that it displayed for 3 seconds. After that, the screen went blank for 10 seconds. Now they were prompted to push the button again, and they repeated this protocol about 30 times. When we analyzed all the data, the results were astounding. The heart seemed to know the images before the participants ever saw the images with their eyes. If the future picture was going to be one of the emotionally arousing ones, the heart rate started to drop about 5 seconds before the image was randomly selected to be shown on the screen. So nobody could know what this future picture was going to be. The heart had a much greater deacceleration than if it was going to be a calm picture. These results have since been replicated in many different independent labs around the world, actually. Well, a lot of people say that I don't feel it in my heart, I feel it in the gut. But here's what's really happening. The information comes to the heart first. The heart then sends a different signal to the brain, which we can measure. Then you have a brain response, and then a body response. And with the body response, like the feeling in the gut or the hair on the back of the neck, is where it becomes conscious. But the real flow of information is heart, brain, body. And this is all happening many seconds before the actual event occurs. So what this body of research is telling us is that the heart seems to be connected to a type of intuition that is not bound by the limits of time and space. But what is that source of intuition? What is the heart connected to? And how can we learn to tap into more of that?
And I think that's a really interesting point. I mean, it proves that we are very intuitive and we can actually kind of predict what's coming. But I have a really interesting story. When I was around 12 years old, my mom received a phone call from her sister. And I had a terrible feeling about this phone call that she was going to get. And her sister was calling to tell her that she had just lost her baby. And I knew it before my mom picked up that phone. I had a sense of what was going on for my aunt, and I understood it on a deep level that a 12-year-old should never understand what it would be like to lose a child, to lose a baby. And I was listening to my mom handling the situation and observing it like an adult, that I wanted to correct how she was handling it because I didn't feel like she was understanding the depth of the pain that her sister was going through. And it wasn't anything of her fault. My mom hadn't lost any children. And then years later, I lost a child. And the depth of what I experienced, I knew at 12 years old. And I can't explain what that is. But that time and space thing, like he's saying right there, that heart connection that's first, this time thing does very strange things. Our soul journey is very, very interesting, right? I had an understanding that something like this was going to happen to me, and I also had the preparation to be able to handle something like that. Of course, I didn't think this was going to ever happen to me, but in the midst of it, I knew it was going to happen. When I had that baby and my midwife said there's something very wrong with this baby, I looked at my husband, and somewhere in some consciousness, I thought to myself, oh no, I didn't tell him this was going to happen to us. Where did that thought come from? I had no sense that we're about to be so beyond devastated. But I was actually aware. Spirit, God's source, reveals itself to you at just the right moment, and at once you have the answers to all of life and all the universe. For just that one moment, you are whole, overwhelmed with love, clear about why you are here, and just about when you think you have it all figured out. The light dims once again, a little less than before, but enough to spark a curiosity and a longing for another revelation of God's presence in your life. Somewhere, there's something about this time and space thing, and it's not the linear thing that we think that it is. This many lifetimes does make a lot more sense when you start to really live in the presence, in your aliveness, in your awakeness, that there is something greater at hand with what your soul is doing here. Every single thing that my parents put into my path to create what I am at this point was divinely guided to create this, to create Shad, to create Del, to create who they are and what's going to happen to their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren. There's a divine order to our families, to all of it, the discord, the heartbreak, the terrible things. There's divine order to all of it. I know it's terrible if you're having a hard time in your life right now. And you go, I don't want to believe that there's a reason for this. But trust me, that's how I felt when I lost my kid too. There's a wonderful writer, and she wrote this. In this culture, we display a compulsive avoidance of difficult matters and an obsession with distraction because we cannot acknowledge our grief. We are forced to stay on the surface of life. Poet Khalil Gibran said, "The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. We experience little genuine joy in part because we avoid the depths. We are an ascension culture. We love rising, and we fear going down. Consequently, we find ways to deny the reality of this rich but difficult, painful territory, and we are thinned psychically. We live in what I call a flat line culture, where the band is narrow in terms of what we let ourselves fully feel." I completely agree with that. I have had my heart shattered in a million pieces in this lifetime. And although it was horrible to go through those experiences, I would change none of them because they've been the greatest teacher for my heart to be opened, for me to be more empathetic, for me to be more honest, for me to be more aware, for me to be more connected to every single person. And yes, I would love to have my son back, but when you believe in the spiritual work, you know your son is right there. This is just a physical experience. We have communication from this side to that side. And once you really get that, you'll be less attached to this physical form. And realize that we are still completely communicating with all of it. The animals, the people that have passed on, we are communicating with all of it because we are all one, and that never ends. I want to end with this video that I think is so powerful to show the communication that we have with one another and with animals so that we may leave and want to take forth our life and find our joy no matter where we are because we are all one. And when we lift each other up and we grab each other and keep bringing each other along, we are going to make a difference in this world. We will see a change in this planet, and we'll be more honest about what's going on for our planet, for our children, for this world. I need you to put the video on because I have 1,000 slides between it. You got him? Here. We'll take him to the office. For me, that story touches me so much because if you were put in that position, would you have believed that you could have spoken to the animal to help this herd of creatures? He believed he had that ability to do that, and that's why they listened. If we have the ability to speak to the wisdom of the universe, to start to make manifest that which you need healed in your life, that which you need to move out of your life that's not serving you anymore, that which you need to call into your life that you need in your life. If you realized that there is this energy that we are beyond words, we can start to create a frequency that starts to create healing in everything that we touch, do, and be. We'll take an offering for unity now.
I like this audience right here. I like to feel that. This is good. And the dog. All right. Yeah, I was cleaning up after him just now. All right, well, we're going to take our offerings into our hands, and we do have many ways to give here at Unity of Boulder. We can do text to tithe. If you haven't seen that, that's the phone number. You can text the word give to that phone number, and it'll set you up for text to tithe. And then we also have Easy Tithe, the app, which you can download, and we now have 16 people using that, so I think that's pretty cool. And money's coming in, so it's happening. All right, so you have reoccurring donations you can also set up, and then dip jars and all that. All right, let's take our offerings into our hands, whether they are physical or whether they are digital or whether they are consciousness. And we're going to bless them with this offering statement, and I invite you to say it with me. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive because I give. Thank you. And we have our special guest musician who's going to share and introduce himself for us. But he has no microphone.
That's fine.
Okay, he can speak loud.
you want the kids come up?
Hello, these are this week's announcements for Unity of Boulder. Unity Cinema presents What the Bleep Do We Know? A film by quantum physicist William Arndt. This film provides scientific answers to your deepest spiritual questions. It will be followed by a Q&A discussion with writer-producer William Arndt. It is Friday, October 18th at 6 p.m. and tickets are $20. Hope to see you there. Choir practice is beginning for our Christmas Eve productions Thursday, October 17th, and every week afterwards until Christmas at 6:30 p.m. This is a great way to get involved with your Unity community and meet new people and create more joy for everyone else in the holiday season. It will be led by Syntysche Groverland, and new members are always encouraged and welcome to join. Woohoo! That's right, folks. 5 years running, Boco Gold, best place of worship as voted by you and Boulder County. We want to thank everyone who came out and voted, and we're already working on year number 6 right now. Thank you very much. Yeah!
Finally, don't forget to check our church calendar for all of the ongoing groups, classes, and events that meet during the week. If you happen to have any further questions about these or any other Unity events, please visit the information table in the lobby after the service.